Okay, I am so excited for this episode. For my longtime listeners, you know that I don't usually have guests on my podcast. It's usually me talking about different topics, different ways that we can be changing ourselves and influencing our children. But I'm really, really excited for this special guest today, Corinne Crabtree. I'm going to give you a summary, but then I'm going to have her introduce herself to you as well. Corinne Crabtree is a master certified weight and life coach with a mission to help every woman break generational curses in order to improve their personal health and wealth. Corinne lost 100 pounds 15 years ago, and ever since, she's dedicated her life to teaching women how to do the same. Corinne is one of the leading voices in the weight loss and business industry. She is the host of the wildly successful podcast, Losing 100 Pounds with Corinne, which I'll have a link to in my show notes, which has been downloaded, y'all, over 50 million times in 160 countries. Corinne, isn't that amazing? You can do something from your home and it gets to 160 countries.
Yes, like it's always
Amazing.
astonishing to me. Like even when I coach people in my membership and they're like, I'm in Australia or like just they're all over the world. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, the
It's
world is
so
now so small."
I know. We have to like pause and be like, that is freaking amazing. Over 1 million women have taken Corinne's free weight loss course, and Corinne now serves over 14,000 paid members in the No BS weight loss program. And I know, Corinne, you're just as proud of that free work that you can put out there. It is helping so many people. Corinne recently founded the No BS Business Women's Membership and also has an advanced certification program that she runs for weight loss focused coaches and professionals. And y'all can catch Corinne on Facebook and Instagram. Her greatest passion is helping women get rid of their self defeating thoughts by using self love to never quit on themselves again. So, welcome, Corinne, to my podcast, Confidence Coaching with
Oh,
Heidi
thank you for
Benjaminson.
having me. It's going to
I
be fun. I can't wait to talk about all the things confidence.
all the things confidence. And I do want you, one thing I didn't have in the intro was a little bit about your family because we're going to be talking about that and how we can influence our children by us changing ourselves. So, Corinne, why don't you introduce yourself to my listeners? Share your story of being overweight, which I know was most of your childhood going into adulthood, what prompted you to lose weight, and then running this company, and just a little bit about your family as well.
So, I was by the age of 9 starting to aggressively gain weight. My mother was 17 when she had me. And so she was uneducated, very poor. By the time she was 21, she had my brother and was divorced. And
Hmm.
so we grew up literally either not having enough food to eat or we were in the drive through. Like I lived McDonald's, KFC, and Hardee's growing up. Like that was like
On repeat.
a lot of people have three squares. We had the three staples. Those were the guaranteed meals. And then by the age of 9, it really started to pile on for me. Like I just, like my brother, never gained weight, ate hamburgers every meal all the time. Me, I could just look at a hamburger and gain 10 pounds.
Hmm.
So I struggled with my weight, bullying, all the things like never played sports, that kind of stuff, all the way through school and through my mid to late 20s. It never got better. I mean, even the few times I was able to lose weight, I would bounce between 250 and 175 pounds. And then I just
Hmm.
regained my weight almost, it felt like immediately. I got married in my late 20s and then we had a son. And
Hmm.
I mean, almost immediately we got pregnant. So after about a year into his life, I was at my highest weight ever. I was well over 250 pounds. I was in postpartum depression. I had suffered with
Hmm.
depression as a teenager. It was coming back in a huge way.
Hmm.
And one morning, he was crawling around on the floor just playing. And he came up to me like he wanted me to play with him. And I just looked at him and it was like 10 o'clock and I was on the couch and I said, "Mommy's too tired to play." And in
Mm,
that moment, it felt like my world crashed around me. It was like
mm,
I realized how out of control I was and what all was going on. My mother had said that to me thousands of times when I was a child, and it
oh,
hurt. It made me mad. I swore to God I would never say that to my child, that I was just going to be a
mhm,
different mom. And when those words came out of my mouth, I was like, I am just like my mother, except I don't have the excuse that I'm working two jobs. Like,
mm.
my mom was legit tired.
Right,
I
right.
was overweight and sick of my life and doing nothing about it. And so I cried all day. My husband came home that night. He was like, "What is wrong?" I mean, you can imagine if you've been crying all day.
Right,
I
right.
just said, "I don't know what I'm going to do, but I've got to figure this out." Because one, I did not want to pass on bullying over your weight to my child.
Mhm,
I did not want to pass on my eating habits to my child. I mean, when I was growing up, I didn't realize they were so unhealthy. But as I
mhm,
got older and older, like, I just, I was in my early 30s already having heartburn on the regular and
mhm.
couldn't go up the stairs without being winded. I remember having a fear that if Logan ran out in the street, I wouldn't be able to catch him because I just couldn't
Wow.
move fast. So I just decided I was going to lose weight, and I wasn't going to do anything that was too hard. I wasn't going to do anything I wasn't willing to do for the rest of my life. And that I was just going to figure out how to change my life. I didn't know if I was losing 100 pounds. I didn't know any of that stuff. I just knew I couldn't keep doing what I was doing.
Mhm,
So I lost 100 pounds over a course of about 18 months. I slowly crept up on changes. Like, my first big epic change was when I went to McDonald's. Instead of getting a supersized number two with mayonnaise instead of mustard,
mhm.
I got a number two with mustard. I
Yeah.
stopped adding the mayo
Oh
on.
my gosh, those small changes are huge. I'm constantly telling my clients, like small things, they add up.
Yes.
They're where the gold is.
Yes. And so I just kept doing that. And then every day I would ask myself, what is one little thing I can do? It's a little bit different than yesterday. Sometimes it was like the mustard thing. Sometimes it was go for a 15-minute walk. Sometimes it was, um, don't talk to yourself like a butt today. Like, every time
Mhm,
that I would catch myself diminishing what I was doing, like saying, "Ooh, that's not going to be good enough. It's going to take forever to lose your weight." I'd be like, "No, old Corinne thinking.
mhm.
All I know is that if I keep doing positive things will happen. If I stop doing positive things, negative things are going to happen." So
Yeah.
I just kept talking to myself and calming myself down. And eventually, not only did I lose the weight, but I had lost the version of me that self-loathed, that
Mhm,
hated herself, that only knew how to, like, demand stuff, order herself around. Like, I had changed from someone who always thought that she wasn't doing enough to,
mhm,
no, like, here are the things that you do, and this is going to take us far. So
mhm,
I changed as a person on top of it. And that's why I wanted to start a business around it, because I knew that I could help women not just lose weight, but actually like themselves and what they do in terms of how they live to keep it off. I knew I could teach them all of that.
right, right, because that's not what is typically taught.
Exactly.
Um, so it sounds like from the beginning you kind of knew that your self-talk was a big portion of what had to change. Is that correct? Like, talk about what, and you already just have what was going on through your head, like those little things that you changed. Did you see a difference how you showed up as a mom just with that mental talk even before you did it and then as you were changing that mental talk and as Logan was growing?
Yeah, when I first started, I didn't realize the mental talk had to change. It was like it was one of the things that I was kind of doing and didn't realize it was making a big
Mhm.
difference until I'd noticed some differences. And I started thinking about, like, oh, I feel better because I'm not letting myself just sit here and be mean to myself all the time. Like, I
Mhm.
remember when I first started, one of the things I really wanted was to learn how to exercise, like,
Mhm.
not for weight loss, but because all of my friends exercise. Like, they
Mhm.
ran races. My brother lifted weights. Like, they had fun with movement. And I was like, I
Mhm.
want to be that person. Like, I want to be someone who does that. I had always, the only time I'd ever exercised in my life was when I was like beating myself up for being overweight.
Mhm.
And I had decided, like, no, here's what I really want. I want to be an adult athlete.
Mhm.
And that was such a different reframing as to how I had always thought about exercise. And so I went to the gym, and my first steps were to literally get on the treadmill for 15 minutes. I knew I could walk. And that was like all I knew how to do. And I remember walking in and thinking, you don't belong here. They all think the big girls arrived. Like,
Mhm.
people like you don't go to the gym. I
Mhm.
was
They're all
ashamed
looking
of
at
my
you. Right.
clothes. Like, I had my husband's clothes on. I was like, you don't even have real workout clothes. Like, every self-loathing thing was flying in my brain like the flying monkeys of Wizard of Oz. And I remember walking in and feeling the shame and telling myself, look, what's not good enough is sitting around telling yourself 15 minutes won't count,
Yeah.
because then you don't do anything. That's the definition of not good enough. The new way we think about it is whatever you do is going to be good enough now. And all this other stuff that's going on, we just got to like get through it. Like, I didn't
Mhm.
even try to change a lot of that shamey stuff in the beginning.
Mhm.
I was just like, just keep showing up, just keep showing up. And that was the, like, initially to to eventually become confident. The first stage was to be willing
Mhm.
and to just do
And to
things.
feel it. Like, was it just like to feel that almost that shame or whatever you're saying? Was that a big
I
piece of
think,
it?
like, back then, like, honestly, I didn't do thought work. Like, I'd
Right.
never read a self-help book. I mean, you got to remember, this is like 2005,
Right. Right. Right.
maybe 3 or 4. I don't even know who was like the
No, there
self-help lords of the day back then, but I didn't read them. I was reading Harry Potter. So,
right. Right.
but I remember feeling shame
Mhm.
and then saying, like, but go anyway. Like,
Mhm.
I didn't run from it. I wasn't like resisting it. I just wasn't letting it drive the ship anymore.
Mhm.
And I like to like the way I like to talk about it, because my clients, I try to teach them this all the time. We can have opposing emotions at the same time. There's
Mhm.
like the duality of them. It's like I could feel shame for what I was wearing, how out of shape I was, all of the things that I thought other people were thinking, while also feeling very willing to take the first steps of becoming the new me.
Right.
So, like,
Oh, I
we
love that.
both, all of us walked in the
Walked
door
in that
every
door.
day until the part of me that was willing was becoming more self-assured. Like, the
Mm.
next step to confidence was like, I started reassuring myself it's okay. Like, no one has said a word to us. Like, like those kinds of things. And I think I was just graduating up until when there was just a day where I was just really confident, where I was just like, I just now go to the gym. Like, I wasn't overthinking more. Like, I knew where to go. I knew what to do. It wasn't as bad as I thought. I was able to challenge myself a little more. So it's
Mhm.
like one of those things where in my early days, and this is what I always like for my clients to understand, they get so scared of processing emotion, like all the things that us coaches say you need to do, like thought work and stuff. And I'm like, we do need to do that stuff, but we can do it in ways that doesn't feel like we're working.
Mhm.
Like, so much of it can just be like, in this situation, try thinking like this. Try just
Yeah.
adding this on. Like, I like to make a lot of the like work that I do for the emotions and stuff super accessible to the
Mhm.
person who has spent a lifetime not knowing anything about it or shutting it down. Because that's what
Right.
happens in my membership. My members usually come in, they've just only ate through it their entire life and they don't know anything about it. This is like
Mhm.
new news to them. So I
Mhm.
try to make it super accessible by just like sharing those moments where it's like you can feel shame while also feeling compassion for yourself, that you're thinking that,
Mhm.
willing to take a step
Mhm.
forward, even though you're
Mhm.
feeling that too. I just think it's so helpful for those people in those early stages.
Right. And to be normalized. Tell me
Yes.
back at that moment, like how much belief did you really have that, okay, I can actually lose the 100 pounds? And even you can equate this to your business too, when you started the business. I think sometimes we can see people that are really successful and we can think that, oh, on day one, you knew this is how it was going to turn out. And this is one reason I love reading books about CEOs or people that have really accomplished a lot. I have a lot of clients that they want to achieve goals, they want to go after things, but so often we forget, no, at the beginning we don't even know, we just have belief I can get through this day, or even belief I could maybe fail. So talk to me a little bit about that belief with the weight loss, and then even as you started your business, like what did you even believe then, and how did that belief and confidence grow?
So for both, the common denominator is I had about a -10 belief on either one of them happening. Number one, on the weight loss side, I'd failed every diet known to man. Like
Mm-hmm.
every I some I'd had some success and then like went back. And the success I had was just being able to be compliant, but I wasn't really changing how I
Yeah.
was. Like it was just
Right.
me beating myself up. On the business side, I had even less because it was really strange. When I first started my business, I didn't even think about it as being a successful business. I just thought, I'm going to talk to some chicks on the internet and email and help
Mm-hmm.
them lose weight just like me. And if they pay me $20 to make them holler, I'm happy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that was the extent of my thinking about that business. So, like on the day one, for me especially in business, I was like, you are uneducated, you've never been to college, you don't know anything about this stuff, but I bet you can just do these things. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was very limited into what I thought my success would be. To me, my success would be if I could just make a few extra bucks so
Mm-hmm.
that my habit of wanting every workout type known to man and
Right.
gadget was paid for by me, I was thrilled.
Mm-hmm.
Now I met that goal. Like it doesn't take much money. And so then I was like, here I am, I've arrived. On the weight loss side, it was really hard because, like,
Mm-hmm.
on the business side, I didn't even know to dream. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it was just, like, it wasn't a big thing. But, like, on the weight loss side, there was so much pain. There was so much past. There was so much. I mean, I had been overweight it felt like my entire life.
You had to like create and birth a new person.
Yes. And so I had no belief in losing 100 pounds.
Okay.
Wouldn't even think about it. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
just like, that scares me. That's probably never happening. We're not going there.
Mm-hmm.
What I did believe is I know I can feel better. I know I can make some changes. That's why I kept my beliefs very doable in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
just stuck with what's in front of me today until I could think about what's in front of me for a few days. Then once I got good at that, I could think about a week or two. And then next thing I knew, that was just natural. Like I was starting to get success. Like, the number was changing. I was doing what I said I would do. Like that to me blew my mind at
Mm-hmm.
how I had got super consistent. But I the first like 2 to 3 months, I ate the crap out of ice cream every night.
Mm-hmm.
I was not ready to give up that emotional eating around ice cream. There were other
Mm-hmm.
trades I could make during the day, but that
Mm-hmm.
was a no. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but then I got to where I was like, you can have ice cream at night, but here's some other things we can change. And
Mm-hmm.
then eventually I started feeling better. And because I was talking to myself better, I realized I started naturally thinking, I think we can eat a little less ice cream. Let's just try.
Let's just try.
Yeah, and then everything it was like everything was becoming easier and easier, and it just evolved, but it was simply
Mm-hmm.
because I wasn't demanding, I was meeting myself where I was. I wasn't expecting myself to believe in things I wasn't ready to believe in yet.
Mm-hmm.
I was just
Mm-hmm.
like, there's always something right in front of me I can put all my trust, hope, and belief in. What is that? And let's go
And
there.
let's do it. Something I'm hearing you say in all of this, especially compared to maybe the diets you had done previously, I hear you saying I was going inside. Like I was no longer needing other people to be the authority, but reaching inside of me. What do I want to do today? What do I believe? Even if it's just for today, like learning to trust ourselves is such a huge component to confidence and just figuring out who we are, even in
Yes.
the middle of life when a lot of people we have to kind of be we're going into new seasons as kids go to college and things like that. So I hear that and I think that's really important.
Well, that was everything for me. And it was a lot of just, I call it belief stacking,
Uh-huh.
like finding those accessible beliefs that I could have and just focus on those. And then that pie, it's kind of like we were talking about earlier. I had all these incremental changes, these small things that I was doing, and they added up just like small beliefs collected over time. They add up and then they kind of form like a bigger belief after a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I really just focused on that.
Yeah. So I want to ask you how all of this has really impacted your son. You know, society can send messages to mothers that, hey, your improvement really should be secondary to supporting any improvement or developing your children. So, how has you improving yourself really been such a support for your son, for your health and your business? Like, tell us ways that these things have impacted your family.
So the first thing is just like it was so much easier to feed Logan better when I
Hmm.
wasn't sitting around feeling like a hypocrite or a fraud.
Hmm.
Like,
Do as mom says, not as she does.
yeah, because I was sitting there thinking, like, I don't want to raise him like that. Number one, I don't want to model to him, like, it's okay for me to eat this way, but it's not okay for you to eat this way.
Hmm.
So I really wanted us to be more congruent. And I didn't give up all my stuff. I didn't make him like, eat like a little saint either. But like I added more vegetables, I added more fruits and stuff over time, which meant he was getting more fruits, he was getting more vegetables. So I think health wise, it really impacted him, especially because he was always a very active child. He never played sports. My son has autism, so he didn't play
Hmm.
sports, but we did play one time. He tried to play soccer, and that was not good. We realized that he just like team sports was never going to be his thing. It was
Uh-huh.
painful for him,
Hmm.
and it was like I was not going to put him through all that. And
Hmm.
so, but he was very active. So as I learned how to bike and run and be able to have like more just cardio capacity, I could go to the playground with him and I
Hmm.
could walk around and like I had the energy to push him. I could like show him how to slide. Like some of that stuff I promise all of you, I wouldn't have been able to do had I stayed at my size. I had gotten to where everything hurt. I
Hmm.
was not
Hmm.
flexible. Like I was probably 30 in a 50-year-old body by that point.
Hmm.
And in fact, it's probably even worse because I'm almost 50 now. And like I'm probably in better shape physically than a lot of 30 year olds.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure
But
you are.
that was probably one thing. The business side of things, that's probably where like I just have never had guilt over exercising and taking care of myself physically. And I think it's
Hmm.
because I've always closely related it to this does impact Logan. Like this
Uh-huh.
is important. Like because I want him to see the value in movement. Like even now, he's 20. And I often ask him, like, hey, I'm going to go out for a walk. Did you get a walk in today? Like, it's
Hmm.
really pretty outside. Like, I try to just like prompt him. And because I don't make him work out, I've never
Hmm.
expected him to, he knows I lift weights. Every now and then he comes in, he watches me and stuff. And I just figure if he's ever interested, he'll do
Hmm.
it. But I try to
Hmm.
encourage him to do gentle movement, like I encourage all of my clients. I'm like, you walk for the rest of your life you're like 90% right there.
Right.
So the only thing on the business side is I've had to work on mom guilt for
Hmm.
working
Hmm.
when like I could be spending time with him. And
Hmm.
I spent a lot of time with my coach working on one of like what do I want to define as mothering?
Hmm.
And part of mothering for me is creating um, like financial stability, not only for us now, but for
Hmm.
him when I'm gone.
Mhm.
And so when I started doing that, it alleviated a lot of the guilt. It's like, this is one of the best ways I mother.
Mhm.
It's by making sure that we are all taken care of this way. Because
Mhm.
a lot of us women, especially, we like, men don't have tons of work guilt
No, no, they
because
don't.
they have been brought up to
Right.
like, that's how you father.
And that's a part of their role. Society tells them that's part of their role, but
Yes.
you and all of us have to define, and we need to have that authority and that confidence. What will mothering be for us? Okay, keep on going.
Yes.
Mhm.
And so, well, and some of the things that I defined as mothering is being tired sometimes and not wanting to talk.
Mhm.
Being mothering, to me, being a mother is sometimes you're listening and your brain is in some other world thinking like, "Ugh, I'd rather be talking about something else," or,
Mhm.
I love my child, but he's a 20-year-old boy. Our interests are very different.
Mhm.
You know, he
Right.
doesn't necessarily want to come in and talk about, shopping like I do.
Right.
So, like, for me, I just had to really define what mothering was gonna be so that I can grow that confidence that I'm doing the right things. Because
Mhm.
for me, confidence, especially in mothering, but in anything, is a decision you make that
Mhm.
you are on the right track.
Mhm.
It is not anything else other than that. Like, we're not just born with confidence.
No.
For most of us, it doesn't come naturally. I always tell my clients confidence is earned.
Mhm.
Sometimes we have to go through the stages of feeling like a fool and being
Mhm.
courageous enough to go do it to prove to ourselves that it's not as bad as you always think. And then that gives us the confidence to keep
To
going. But
keep
it's
going.
not what we accomplished, it's the thought, oh,
Mhm.
this is different than what my brain imagined. So I
Mhm.
just think that for me, that was really important with Logan. But even like
Mhm.
today, one of his favorite things to do in the whole world is to go to, there's one mall in Nashville that he likes. And I'm going on a trip this week and I actually need to go get something.
Mhm.
And I was sitting there thinking, all right, because I do work a lot, but I love working.
Mhm.
And so one of the things I said was like, I'm going to take him with me. And I am going to be tired after this. And I would
Mhm.
love anything to go by myself. But
Mhm.
what I want more in this moment is to be tired and know this is a good opportunity to spend some time with Logan
Mhm.
because I'm going to probably want to work tomorrow.
Mhm.
And so I think we just all make trades as a mom.
Mhm.
I think we figure out where we can put in those critical moments. And when we're in those moments, we don't judge ourselves. I won't love every minute while we're shopping, but I will love that I chose that.
And
And I,
you chose it, right? That authority for you to choose, like, this is what matters to me.
yeah.
Yeah. How so I want to talk a little bit about like, our self-worth as mothers. Again, this can be society can be telling us that it's dependent on what your children achieve. I work with my clients, helping them like stay in their lane and understanding what are the responsibilities in your lane and your child's lane and how those are very different. In our lane, we teach, we support, we love, but our child is the one they get to choose what their actions are going to be and what they're going to be achieving. But of course, it can be easy as a mom even to like look at what they're doing and think, oh, that's a reflection of me, or I did a good job, or I didn't do a good job. How has your mental talk and confidence developed by you separating yourself from like, hey, here's my worth, and this is what Logan's going to achieve or not achieve. And in some way, in a very elementary sense, we have to separate ourselves from the scale as well, too.
Mhm.
That like that scale, that number is not a reflection of who I am. So maybe talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, I always like to think of it this way, especially when it comes to the scale, and even with mothering, is there's like this. Let's start with the scale. The scale's number is a reflection of my behaviors. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
reflection of me.
Mm-hmm.
My child is a reflection of their behaviors. It's not a reflection of me.
Mm-hmm.
And even with your child, their achievements aren't a reflection of who they are. It's just a reflection of their habits and their actions. I think that's just really important for us as humans because otherwise, even if everything's going smooth, if you're giving credit to things or people, then what happens is when they don't go smooth, then our self-esteem and stuff takes a hit. What
Right.
I always like to think about is, this is a reflection of things I'm doing
Mhm.
or things I'm saying. But at the end of the day, I am a loving mother,
Mhm.
regardless of what happened. With Logan, it's always been easier for me, I guess, to separate because, once he got diagnosed with autism, I had to clean the slate of expectations.
Mhm.
And,
Mhm.
like, we weren't going to have a typical journey, but I didn't
Mhm.
want us to have a terrible one either. Like, I did not want to be one of those parents that just talked like autism was the lot of life and blah, 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 blah. I really had to decide because I was in a lot of pain for a few years around it. Like
Mhm.
made it mean I must have done something while I was pregnant. And, there's a lot of things I took. Like I just felt so guilty, like I had
Mhm.
caused it. And I
Mhm.
had to really work on that like that's just not true. I will never know what caused it, and there's no sense in blaming myself
Right, and why
because all
focus
it
on
did
that?
was put separation between the two of us. Like
Mhm.
I was separating from him. And
Mhm.
so I think it's just important that we always think about like successes like with our child. When I cleaned the slate, I just really decided Logan's going to be whoever he's going to be.
Mhm.
My job is to influence as much as I can an environment where he can be the best version he can be.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's where I put all my energy and focus. And so everything that he has done and accomplished, my husband and I, we always say we never take credit for it. Like he literally is one of the most polite humans you'll ever meet. Like
Aw,
he just is like,
and what
and
an
we're
amazing
always,
quality.
this is the thing. Like I always tell Chris, like, there's no way we can take credit for this because me and you are the least polite people we've ever met. Like, we are terrible.
Ah.
Like, but Logan is just like, yes, ma'am. Thank you. Like he opens doors for people. I looked at Chris the other day and I said, he didn't learn this from you. When's the last time you opened a damn door for me? So
Oh.
we just always think with Logan, the reason why he is the version of him today is because we really just decided to give him an environment to figure himself out.
Aw.
We provided therapy, we did a lot of things. So like when I think about what I'm proud of, it's not
Mhm.
because of what he's done. I'm proud of how I showed up.
Oh, I love that.
And that's very different. And the same thing happens on the scale. It's like if the scale goes down, so many people are just like, yay, scale. It's like they give the
Mhm.
scale so much credit. And I'm like, scale didn't do anything for you. That scale just laid there and got stepped on. Why are you giving it so much credit? All that scale does is say, I am a reflection of the past 7 to 14 days.
Mhm.
So if you want to be proud, go back and look at whatever you've done and be proud of your behaviors, be proud of your habits, be proud of you. And then
Yes.
if it doesn't go in the direction you want, do not sit there and think that you're a problem. Go back and look at your behaviors and decide which ones need to stay and which ones need to go
Yes.
and figure that out because it's like, it's just, I don't know, as humans, it just feel like we are always trying to make everything so monumental about us as a person.
Right.
Like, build yourself up, talk nicely to yourself and stuff, but everything doesn't have to be so deep all the time.
Yeah, 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 we're humans. I love so my last question I'm going to ask you, is Logan proud of you? I know he is. I had an experience several years ago, right after I started my podcast. Me starting my business was very much a sense of I wanted to have something when my kids were going to college. I could see I didn't want their actions, whatever they're doing, to for me to feel like, oh my goodness, this is like a real their reflection or their actions are a reflection of me. And I wanted to also have things I'm focusing on, not just them. And I started my podcast almost 4 years ago just because that was a big piece of what I wanted to be a part of my business. And a couple months into it, my son, who was 15 at the time, we were driving in the car and he said, Mom, I'm really proud of you. And I said, Oh, what? Why is that? And he said, You said you were going to do something hard and you did it. And he said, Your podcast. And in that moment, I sat there and was very overcome. That I had not started my business in any way for it to be this thing that they're proud of their mom for, really for them. But I realized I've done hard things in my life, maybe before I had kids. And also, kids don't realize that parenting is a hard thing.
They sure don't.
And but I in that moment I thought I am so grateful that I have decided to do these things that maybe I thought were selfish or going to benefit me, and to then start seeing all the ways it's benefiting them.
Yes.
So let's just kind of finish off here with what are some things, has Logan ever expressed things like that? I don't know if that's something he really has. And how is that fueling you and even just your confidence for the things you have coming up? I know you have some things you're now looking at. I know you just bought a restaurant. I mean, Corinne, your business is an 8-figure business. I don't think I had said that earlier in this episode. Like, this is a amazing thing you have created. But so I know I had several questions in there, but
Well, I don't he has told me he's proud of me for certain things, but I will tell you
Mhm.
the funniest things that he tells me that he's proud of me for, and it's usually has he knows I'm successful and stuff, but it's never about that. He'll be like really proud of me because sometimes he'll see me on YouTube every now and then. Like he
Oh,
stumbles
funny.
upon my work in places and he will listen and he'll be like, I'm just really proud of you. You were talking with some lady the other day on some call and you really made her feel better. Like he
Oh.
notices things like that more than
Mhm.
anything.
Mhm.
Um, he has very often told me, and I think this is where I feel proud, is more when he notices he'll say, "Well, mama, I want to talk to you about like, especially when it comes to emotions work and
Mhm.
like our thinking, like he studies a lot of that stuff. I think just naturally being around me makes him curious about it. But he'll say, I want to talk to you about it because I know you're an expert on this. And like
Aw.
he really believes it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I do think I'm an expert on some things, but if he ever has questions about a lot of things, like he'll come to me and say, well, I want to talk to you because like you're an expert. Like,
Right,
people look
right.
up to you,
No, that's a huge compliment from our kids. Huge.
Yes. And so that always makes me feel really good. It's like he notices, like he's paying attention to it and he trusts me. Like, not everybody's kids always trust them
Yeah.
to ask advice and
And
stuff,
have the right answer. Yeah.
Yeah, our autism journey has been so unique and special. It's like, for all the times that I miss certain things that we might not experience, there are so many things that Logan does that a lot of parents never get to experience. Like we are
Mhm.
still like his best confidants, the people he
Mhm.
trusts most in the world and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
that's always, I don't know, my husband and I, we get really touched by that.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that is wonderful. Well, to wrap up here, could you share with my listeners where they could find more information if they want to join the No BS, the weight loss, the coaching group that you have? I will have links in the show notes and any of the social stuff that I share, and maybe even a little bit about the business group too.
Yeah. So if you're interested in the weight loss, I always tell people to start first and foremost with my free course. It's
Mhm.
nobsfreecourse.com. That will get you an introduction to the very first things I did to lose weight, like at that very beginning when I had no confidence.
Uh-huh.
We're talking
Mhm.
under the bus confidence. But that's a really good place to start. And then if you are like an online coach or a course creator, you have some kind of business that you're trying to grow or scale or start online, you can go to nobiusbusinesswomen.com and check out everything we're doing over there.
Okay. Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, Corinne, thank you so much. I really appreciate this time, and I know my listeners are going to learn so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome.